Bagaimana kabar Pak Daniel pagi ini di Malaysia?
Alhamdulillah, semuanya baik-baik saja, Pak. Di
Baik-baik,
mana di mana di
Alhamdulillah.
Padang, Pak?
Di Padang, tapi Pak F. Rizal posisi dirubah Pak Daniel. Pak Daniel
Oh, online-nya di rumah ya.
di rumah karena
Oh,
kaki sedang bermasalah.
oh ya, harus
Kaki sedang
diistirahat ya.
bermasalah. Jadi sudah 2 bulan melaksanakan tugas pengajaran dari rumah saja Pak.
Ya,
Di
pun boleh
Zoom.
juga sekarang ini kebanyakannya sudah
Pemulihan
online.
ya
Dan,
online.
semoga cepat sembuh ya, Pak.
Amin. Pak Daniel, jadi terima kasih Pak Daniel sudah
Sama.
berkenan berbagi ilmu dengan
Iya.
mahasiswa kami. Ini kurang lebih 13 orang
Hmm,
mahasiswa internasional kelas, Pak. Ini mahasiswa internasional kelas, ada 13 orang yang sedang mengambil mata kuliah Pengauditan 2.
oke.
Nah, mengambil Pengauditan 2, jadi
Hmm,
berkenan kiranya Pak Muhammad Daniel berbagi ilmu tentang internal control dengan mahasiswa kami. Mudah-mudahan dengan ilmu Pak Daniel dari luar negeri bagi kami itu akan menambah wawasan dan pengetahuan mahasiswa.
Insya Allah.
Pak Daniel langsung berinteraksi dengan mahasiswa
Baik.
dan mahasiswa Pak Efrizal berharap ikuti dengan baik. Mari kita curi ilmu Pak Daniel sebanyak-banyaknya. Kan
Ya,
begitu?
Insya Allah.
Nah,
Boleh.
ilmu Pak Daniel sebanyak-banyaknya, mudah-mudahan berguna bagi Ananda di masa depan. Pak Daniel,
Ya,
Pak Efrizal izin nggak ikut di forum ini karena
ya.
jadi silakan Pak Daniel berinteraksi dengan mahasiswa secara langsung.
Oke, baik.
Selamat bertugas dengan iringan ucapan terima kasih. Bila taufik walhidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Uh, boleh nampak, bisa nampak slide-nya semua?
Bisa, Pak.
Ya,
Okey,
Pak.
baik. Okey, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat pagi diucapkan kepada semua mahasiswa dan juga mahasiswi daripada Universitas Negeri Padang. Nama saya ialah Daniel. Boleh panggil saya sebagai Pak Daniel pun boleh, Sir Daniel pun boleh, mana-mana yang boleh. Ya, okey. So saya diberitahu untuk berkongsi topik berkaitan dengan internal control pada hari ini. Okey, mungkin kita boleh bisa campur ya, English dan juga bahasa ya. Moga mudah boleh difahami oleh semua lah ya. Okey, so nanti dari soal saya akan masuk explain dalam bahasa Melayu, ada yang bahasa Inggeris dan sebagainya. Okey, pernah dengar tak perkataan words internal control sebelum ni?
Pernah,
Ataupun ini
Kak.
first
Ya,
time?
Pak.
First time, pertama kali.
No, we already know internal control before.
Okay, you have heard about internal control before, kan? Okay, so in terms of internal control ni is a very wide topic or a very wide issues that most companies should have lah, right? So in general lah, so in control kawalan dalaman ni adalah sesuatu yang diguna pakai kebanyakannya di organisasi besar maupun yang kecil dan besar lah. Okay, selalunya didedahkan di organisasi yang lebih besar. Okay. Uh, so dalam pada lecture pada hari, kuliah pada hari ini, pada pagi ini, let's look at in term all the learning outcomes of this particular topic. Okay, what you should know about internal control is a must lah. Okay, so you need to know the definition. What is the definition? Definisi internal control. Why is it so important? Okay, the most important thing is that why is it so important for us, for those especially yang mempelajari akuntansi, okay, in accounting field, why you need to understand this internal control and what are the objective of implementing this in effective internal control. So the first three outcomes so is very crucial for us to understand the overall big picture, what is internal control is all about. Okay, so as a future accountants, as a future auditors, you guys nanti mau bekerja, berkarir di organisasi besar ataupun kecil, ataupun di audit firm, ataupun di accounting firm dan sebagainya, memerlukan atau kalian untuk memahami sedalam-dalamnya mengenai internal control. So makanya internal control harus dibawa sehingga kalian sudah retired atau mau pencen, nggak mau bekerja dan sebagainya. So internal control sesuatu yang sangat penting diguna pakai sepanjang hidup kalian. Okay, sebagai mahasiswa dan mahasiswi dan kemudian akan bekerja di firma-firma organisasi yang besar ataupun yang kecil, firma audit ataupun firma perakaunan, perakuntansi, memerlukan pemahaman mengenai internal control. So from this particular three learning outcomes, okay, then we're going to look at in terms of its component. Okay, the components is very important for us to understand further that you need to memorize. Ini harus diingat, diingati sampai bila-bila. Okay, apabila ada seseorang yang bertanyakan, oh, komponen ini apa? Komponen ini apa? What is this component for? What is this component for? What is this control for? At least you know the main components of the controls, so that you're able to answer this control for what? This control is for what? What is important? Kan? Kalau jika kalian bisa memberikan jawapan yang tepat mengenai internal control, makanya klien ataupun pihak di firma atau organisasi employer anda dan sebagainya mengetahui bahawa you guys understand the component itself, what is important to the business. Easy for you to do audit if let's say you wanted to become auditor, and easy for you if you want to become an accountant. Okay, because anda perlu memahami kontrol yang ada di setiap organisasi. Okay, adakah setiap organisasi atau firma yang ada berkaitan dengan audit ataupun akuntansi ini mempunyai kontrol yang sama ataupun berbeza? Is it the same? Are all the companies or organization having the same control, or is it different?
Different.
Different. Okay, so the main fundamental is the same, but applying it will be different, slightly different. Okay, basic tu mesti ada. Fundamental, asasinya harus ada, foundationnya harus ada, tetapi bagaimana dia mengaplikasi ataupun implement it in the business will be slightly different. Kerana setiap organisasi ataupun firma mempunyai nature of work yang berbeza. Kan, company A mungkin terlibat di sektor engineering, B mungkin construction, C mungkin di pharmaceutical, D mungkin di sektor manufacturing. So setiap jenis atau kategori organisasi tersebut mempunyai kontrol yang berbeza daripada satu yang lain. Tapi namun komponen foundation ataupun fundamentalnya harus sama. Okay, the main component harus ada. Tapi bagaimana untuk mengaplikasikan kontrol tersebut berbeza daripada satu organisasi kepada organisasi yang lain. Ya. Okey, kemudian kita akan lihat bagaimana untuk kita mendokumentasikan ataupun how to understand internal control in an organization. Okay, sekiranya kita as an auditor ataupun accountant, kita mahu mengetahui apa control, what sort of controls that being used by the company A, B, C, D, and E, example. So what kind of tools, what kind of information, what kind of documents that we can refer to or we can use to understand their control. Okay, so sebagai auditor, juru audit, kita harus memahami kontrol yang ada di dalam sesebuah organisasi. Kemudian baru kita boleh membuat audit, melakukan auditan terhadap company tersebut ataupun organisasi tersebut. Tanpa pengetahuan mengenai internal control sesebuah organisasi, maka auditor tidak mampu untuk menjalankan tugasnya dengan baik. Ya, untuk melalui proses-proses pengauditan dengan baik kerana kurangnya pendedahan ataupun pemahaman mengenai internal control. Okay, itu adalah toolsnya. Dan last sekali, akhir sekali mungkin kita akan lihat in term of management letter. Okay, tujuan mengapa diperlukan management letter di dalam laporan ataupun report by the auditor itself when they want to present about companies punya internal control. Okay? Okay, di sini internal control ni adalah responsibility siapa? Who's responsible of creating or implementing internal control? Adakah management ataupun auditor?
Company management.
Management, ya betul. Internal control ni adalah sesuatu yang harus diimplementasikan ataupun dilakukan oleh pihak management. Okay, control adalah responsibility management. Okay, as an auditor, we only check, okay, to make sure the controls tu effective or not effective. Mengapa kita kena check internal control? Mesti ada reason. Kenapa auditor wanted to check internal control, make sure internal control in place, internal control is effective, is run smoothly? Why? What is it? The main reason.
To detect fraud or errors in the financial reporting of the company.
Okay, so internal control is something that can mitigate, can avoid error, can avoid fraud, can avoid so many things. Okay, it's macam prevention, all right, to avoid bad things, okay, to avoid bad things happening in the organization. So when internal control is good, then the company will be in good condition. The reporting financial report also be in a good condition. Okay, whatever they report on financial statement will be a good report. No issue of fraud, less issue of fraud, very minimal in terms of error and so on and so forth. If internal control is poor, not effective, then report pun will be reflected lah. Report will be poor, uh, lots of error, lots of fraud cases, and also etc. etc. Okay, so we as an external auditor or internal auditor, we want to make our life easier. When we wanted to audit the company tu, kita make sure that kerja kita mudah. Okay, we don't want to go through so many things. If let's say control is good, then less work for us. If let's say control is poor, then more work for us. Kan? Kalau good internal control, then we don't need to go every single detail because control is already good. Okay, we don't need to test so many things. But if let's say internal control is poor, then more work for auditor. They need to check one by one by one. More sample size, increase sample size, more testing, more this, more that, more assessment. So many things to do for the auditors. So when it comes to company that having a very good internal control, strong internal control, less work for us. Easy for the auditors. Okay, kerja pun boleh cepat habis. Alright, easy. Okay, so that would be the alternative. Okay, for activity one, maybe you can scan this particular QR code for Mentimeter. So let's check your understanding about what is internal control is all about. Okay, I share the screen, the results. Ada yang bisa boleh jawab? Can access? Boleh. Boleh. Saya share. Okay. Hanya 4 orang saja. Yang lain? Okay. Okay, so kita ada reliable, okay, a word to describe internal control. Reliable, control, okay, basic preventive, as part of protection, okay, to secure, safeguard, okay. Right, so many of you have basically discussed about control, okay, so the word describe internal control, control, okay. So all the words are basically being used or normally related to internal control. The purpose of internal control so is part of monitoring, part of securing, part of protection, part of compliance. Compliance is very important because also is something that be implemented for all organizations. Okay, so in order for us to have a very good control, you need to comply with this internal control lah. Okay, you should have this particular internal control. Keamanan tu apa? Ada orang jawab keamanan tu. What's keamanan? Typo error.
Keamanan is like security, sir.
Creative? Oh, I see. Oh, first keamanan creative ya. Alright, okay, thank you so much. Nanti share balik. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Okay, so let's look at the definition of internal control. Okay, according to ISA, International Standard of Auditing 315, the definition of internal control is the process. Okay, process satu system which is being designed, implemented, and maintained by the management. Those charged with governance, so someone actually higher level of management, and other personnel to provide reasonable assurance about the achievement of entities' objective. To achieve mission, vision, goals, objective, mission, companies punya mission, objective, goal, and so on and so forth lah. So each company, when they set up the business, they mesti ada goal. They have mission, they have vision, what they want to achieve. So in order for them to achieve this mission, vision, goal, and so on and so forth, they need to have proper internal control in place. Kalau without internal control, then they cannot achieve those objective, mission, vision, goal, whatever lah. Okay. So what are the objective? Okay, so the main objective under internal control, we wanted to make sure that the operation runs smoothly, effectively, efficiently. So this is the main objective of having internal control. To make sure that the operation, business operation, goes smoothly, okay, effective, efficiently. Whatever resources that they have, whatever material that they have to produce something must be produced on time. Okay, so that is effectiveness, efficiency. Then we're going to look at in terms of reliability of financial reporting to make sure that the financial report too reliable, can be used, trusted. Okay, whatever report that being issued by the company too, we can use that to make decision. So we can rely, this information is correct. This information is reliable. We can use this to analyze and make decision. Okay, and part of prevention and detection of fraud and also error. Okay, by having good internal control, we can avoid fraud cases. We can basically avoid error. Okay, this is something that normally auditor wanted to look at to make sure that company can prevent, detect fraud, and also to avoid any error or mistake in preparing the financial report. Last one is part of compliance. So if let's say big organization that being listed, contohnya listed in Indonesia stock market, in Malaysian market example, so they need to comply with internal control. One of the requirement is that they need to make sure that they can comply with internal control. You should have internal control in place. So without internal control, then they cannot be listed. Okay, they cannot sit in the public listed or exchange stock market and so on and so forth. So compliance is one of the main objective. In order for us to be listed, then you need to comply with the internal control system. So why is it this internal control is relevant to us? If let's say you want to become an auditor, so why is it important? As I mentioned earlier, internal control is very important for us an auditor because you're going to audit their financial statement. Okay, controls that related to preparation of financial statement are considered relevant to the auditors. Okay, but not all of the internal controls are related to us, an auditor. But those that related to the preparation of financial statement is relevant to us. Control yang diguna pakai sewaktu menyediakan pelaporan kewangan yang relevan, yang itu kita akan guna pakai untuk di audit, tujuan pengauditan. Those control that not relevant to the preparation of financial statement, yang tidak berkaitan, selalunya kita tidak ambil waktu untuk menilai control tersebut sekiranya tidak berkaitan. Tetapi selalunya most of the controls in the organization are being used to prepare financial statement. Okay, that's why when the auditor comes in, dia akan melihat keseluruhan control tersebut. Because if we do not know, maybe certain of the controls tu dia indirectly being used, kita tak tahu. So at the beginning, we need to understand overall picture of the control first. Then we narrow down yang mana yang most important ones that related to financial statement preparation. Okay, controls relating to compliance and also operation is one of them lah. So one, it prepare financial statement. Another one that leads to compliance. Contohnya, companies wanted to acquire bank loan, kan? So they want to take bank loan, okay, 1,000, 1 million, and so on and so forth. So they need to comply with certain regulation compliance with the bank. Okay, such as financial statement must be consistently have profits like 5 years. Okay, dia punya in term of performance. Okay, no losses. Most of the time are getting profits. So that is one of the compliance. So we need to check on that one, compliance, the operation wise, how that being. All of these controls are basically can be used as of the audit procedures for auditan for the auditors. Okay, still remember this component of internal control. These 5 components needs to remember all the time. So we have the environment, we have risk assessment, we have information and communication, control procedures, and also monitoring. Okay, so these 5 components is the basic fundamental of internal control that being applied in most organizations. Okay, it is introduced by COSO, the Committee of Sponsoring Tradeway Organization. Okay, something like that name. COSO. So they are the one actually introduced this particular framework that apply to almost organization that ada process. When each time you have business that come up with business process, business model, you must have internal control, or else nanti lots of error, lots of fraud. Okay, so that's why this element of component internal control is very crucial, very important. It is compulsory, diwajibkan ada. Okay, especially for those big company. Okay, small company nanti kita lihat, we can see later. Okay, so what is this 5 components is all about? Okay, the first component is the environment just now. The environment too is considered as an umbrella, like satu payung besar. Payung in Indonesia panggil apa ya? Payung juga ya? Sama payung juga. Okay, so in control environment is a big, huge umbrella. So it's a main control that monitors the rest of the controls. Okay, so before you start your business, you should have this control environment first. Set up this control environment. So control environment is the biggest punya control that oversee the rest of the controls. Okay, kalau tak ada control environment, the rest of the controls will not be applicable. Okay, will not be in place. So set up your control environment first. Okay, the main book, kalau dalam istilah pembelajaran, buku. Your books is your main reference. Okay, your main reference is your book for control environment. So control environment is a manual for the organization. Okay, then we have assessment, control activities or procedures, information communication, and also monitoring. So control environment is considered the foundation. Okay, contoh kita imagine, kita bayangkan untuk membina sebuah rumah contohnya. Okay, kita perlu ada foundation yang kukuh, asas yang kukuh, tanah yang kukuh, ataupun batu-batuan yang kukuh, tiang yang kukuh, in order for you to build up a house. Okay, to build up a house, you need to have a very concrete, solid foundation. Same in the control framework. All right. So control environment is your foundation, is the main. okay, you should have your control environment first, the foundation. So normally, when it comes to control environment, it's talking about the how to control the people within the organization, the attitude of people or action in the organization. This is overall. Okay, nanti bila nanti maybe some of you nanti mungkin ada business sendiri. Okay, businesswoman, businessman, and so on. So when you wanted to have people to work with you need to make sure you set the tone. You set how what will be the nature of my business. Okay, I want an employee yang baik. I want an employee yang jujur, yang amanah, yang knows how to do works. Kan? That is most important. That's a foundation. Kalau you take people yang lazy, yang tak tahu buat kerja, don't have knowledge, yang have bad attitude, so it will affect you punya business objective. Nak buat kerja pun tak boleh. You cannot achieve your target. So that is the foundation that you should have. Nah? So under this component of control environment, we have several examples. One of them is really emphasize on integrity and also ethical values. Okay, kalau you want to hire someone those honest, jujur, amanah, rajin, and good moral values. Okay, a very kind person. So you hire that kind of people, right? Integrity, because good people will perform their job properly. Kan? So if you hire someone that actually have bad attitude, so it will affect the work itself, then most probably fraud could occur or error could occur. Okay, but when you hire someone that very good, ada knowledge, okay, the second one, competency, knowledge, ada skills, then everything will go smoothly. People will do their job accordingly. Okay, dia tahu apa dia nak buat as an accountant, accountancy, so you know how to do your work, prepare account, all right, and then do your work in the auditing and so on. The third one, participation by those charged with governance. Maksudnya di sini, orang atasan or those from the top level management basically participate, involve, okay, with this kind of controls. You need to say they concern, okay, in terms of emphasis on ethical values, integrity, accountability. They also play their parts. Okay, so we don't want to have a separate punya gap between employees and also top management. Okay, so top management also involved with the business. We involved with the activities in the business. Kita tak mau last time 20, 30 years ago memang we do have management that don't bother, do not have concern at all about their employees. Dia tak ambil tahu pun. But nowadays, because of the influence of pressure from stakeholders, shareholders, those charged with governance and the top level management needs to involve. Okay. All right. Next one, management philosophy and also operating style. Oh. All right, management philosophy and also operating style, how to make sure that the management ensure quality of internal control. Bagaimana untuk mereka memastikan business operation can be done properly through a good style of operation. Contohnya open space, always encourage people to give ideas, can encourage people to become more hardworking, always to meet deadlines. So these are the kind of philosophy and operating style. Okay, and then we have organizational structure. This one you know lah, and you have shareholders, CEO, and then you have chief financial operation officer. We have chief financial officer, CFO, and then we have a managers level. We have employees, clerk, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this one, organizational structure is an important punya things in the organization. So that you know, this person report to whom, this person report to whom, this person report to whom. So we can see the flow of the reporting. Okay, assignment of authority and also responsibility. Every single employee in the organization, normally they have their own responsibility. Contohnya, when we hire an accountant, what is the responsibility of an accountant? When we hire chief financial officer, what is the responsible of this chief financial officer? Okay, CFO. So everyone have their own responsibility. Okay, have their own power lah. So the person can sign, the person can verify, the person can give approval. So that one based on authority. CEO power dia apa? Okay, CFO, what's the role of its CFO and what they can do? All right, so that one to assign authority and also responsibility. And last one will be human resource policies and also practices. This is crucial. In the organization, you should have HR function. HR function means that you need to train people, okay, give knowledge, skills, recruit the correct people, okay, hiring, training, and then provide to counseling if let's say the staff got problems. Human resource is related to human activities and so on in the organization. Okay, next one, the second component on the risk assessment. So risk assessment is considered as wall, dinding. So you naik dinding. When you build up a house, tadi just now we have a foundation, we have the tanah dia, we have a batu dia, tiang dia. Now we have walls. Walls, naik dinding. Okay, when you build up a house, you have walls. So these particular walls, you need to identify business risk. Okay, what source of risk that can affect the business performance? Either internal, dalaman, ataupun luaran. Contoh, when you want to build up a house, what sort of risk could happen? Contohnya, when you have a ground, okay, adakah tanah tu stabil untuk you buat rumah? Okay, adakah pasir yang digunakan, batu yang digunakan tu adalah yang quality so that you can build up a very strong house. That one is a risk lah. Kalau you guna batu yang murah, bata yang murah, tanah yang tak sesuai contohnya, then nanti rumah tu akan jatuh, collapse. Okay, so make sure that all the ingredients that you use to must be a quality one. So this is a risk assessment that you need to do. In organization also the same. Okay, contohnya in the business activities, make sure that you have a skilled staff. That one internal. So you need to have skilled staff to perform their job or task. Kalau external, contoh external meaning to say risk of in term of getting loan, bank loan contoh. Alright, in term of non-compliance issue. Okay, that one from external point of view lah. Okay, or maybe because of nature disaster, ada banjir ke, ataupun ada berlaku tanah runtuh ke, ataupun berlaku kebakaran ke di pabrik ataupun kilang-kilang yang ada, so menyebabkan mereka tidak boleh untuk meneruskan business process. Alright, so these are the risks that normally the company should identify. Okay, list down. Okay, this is internal risk. This is the external risk. So how to overcome this risk? Okay, so this is need to be done. That's why we have the risk management committee in the organization. So they will identify this sort of risk. Okay, to how to overcome it. All right. These are the examples of risk assessment tadi lah, as I mentioned, in terms of employees. Okay, normally when you hire new employees, it comes something that actually involve changes or new things be implemented will cause certain risks will be affected the business. Okay, contohnya perubahan di dalam business operation. When you have changes in the business operation, it will lead to new things of risk of fraud or error could occur. Because something new. Whatever new, normally it can associated with new risk. Okay, apa-apa yang baru saja di implement di dalam satu proses, dia akan melibatkan risiko error or maybe fraud could occur. Because new things, when it comes new things, it takes time for the business to identify what will be the suitable control to overcome the issue. Okay, dia macam takes time, 1 or 2 years. And then after that, they know how to tackle the issues already. But if let's say the first year they implement, it's very crucial in the first year they need to monitor this particular new changes. Or else, they can create problem. Okay, similar like new personnel. Contohnya last time you have the CFO working with the business for about 10 years. Suddenly the old CFO resigned, maybe retired. So you want to hire new CFO. These new people, kita tak kenal. We do not know him or her very well. The previous CFO kita dah kenal 10 years working with the business. So we know how she work, how actually she react in terms of dia punya skills, decision making and so on. But when it comes to new personnel, kita tak tahu how this person works. Kan, maybe too strict, or maybe too flexible, or maybe too relaxed, or maybe don't bother. I don't want to think about anything about the process. You do your own, something like that. So new personnel also will create a lot of problem as well. Okay, that's why I mentioned new information system. You create a new system. New system also will actually leads to new risk because it's trial and error. Okay, something new definitely will come with lots of risk. Okay, rapid growth. If your business expand, last time your business only in Indonesia. Now expand to Malaysia, expand to Singapore, expand to Thailand, example. When you have a rapid growth business, it create lots of more new risks. Okay, so that is under risk assessment. Okay, next one, information system and also communication. This one is the window, tingkap. Okay, the tingkap to window. So we need to say to a part of walls just now, risk assessment, we need to have some mitigation. I mean to say in terms of software, computer system, data, IT based, how to avoid error and also fraud could occur. Okay, most of the time when it comes to this information system and also communication, it leads to in terms of identifying records on the valid transaction and how the system record this transaction on timely basis. If the transaction received today, you record today. So in the system will appear today, date. Okay, so that's how we wanted to make sure the accuracy of your transaction. So more must be recorded, everything must be recorded accordingly. Okay, the system must capture that. All right, so when you develop the system, it must develop system that can capture all these particular transactions. Okay, control activities or control procedures. This is door locks and doors and also locks. So meaning to kalau ada pintu, ada tingkap, mesti berkunci. All right, you need to have a lock. Okay, same in the business organization. When you develop something, you need to make sure that pintu ditutup, kilang ditutup, pabrik ditutup, got security guard kan that will monitor the pabrik or monitor the factory. Okay, who handle the assets? So someone in charge or handle of assets management. Okay, who actually going to look at in terms of asset moving out and also in. If you buy asset, who's handling it? If you sell asset, who's going to handle it? Who's going to approve it? Siapa yang memberi kebenaran? You want to bring out assets out from the business, must be someone that approve. Okay, CFO ke, CEO ke, anyone that have the authority to make sure the asset can be moved outside from the organization. Jual ke, you want to transfer from one place to another place ke. So that is those control procedures, also activities. So all these control procedures, activities are normally very commonly being used in most organizations, such as ada check and error. Okay, someone that actually review. If you do that kind of job, another person will review on behalf of you to make sure there's free from error and also mistakes. Okay, sometimes we can also request for internal auditor. If let's say the company tu ada internal auditor, okay, contohnya buat bank reconciliation. Okay, finance department prepare bank reconciliation. So we appoint internal auditor to double check this particular bank reconciliation. This is to make sure that independence. Okay, kita tak nak nanti ada orang dalaman within the finance department group tu also review the bank reconciliation, nanti no independence. So he or she helping the friend or everything is okay. All right. So to make sure that your work have been done properly, we assign people that not related to your work, such as internal auditor ke, ataupun someone from different department to oversee or to check your work. All right. Or maybe your superior, your managers, or your CFO that going to double check it. Okay. And then how the information have been processed or controlled. have been checked in terms of accuracy, completeness, authorization. All these are actually important for the auditors. When you want to audit, you need to make sure that transaction is accurate, complete records, and someone actually authorized those particular records. Okay, and each transaction that happening in the business too, someone that actually verifying it, authorize it, approve it. Okay. Physical control, this one is more on asset lah. As I mentioned just now, asset movement. So, is there any control if let's say asset are moved from one place to another place? Inventory stock from one warehouse to another warehouse. Can from finished goods to become sold goods nanti as part of sales. Who is actually in charge? Okay, is there any documentation in between to make sure that the finished good can be sold to customer, right? Of sales. All these are is part of physical control. Physical control is very dangerous because physical control can be easily stolen. Inventory tu because dia you nampak you nampak stock. Contohnya you nampak tumbler ni. So can be easily. Orang ambil bawa balik you do not realize. Kan people can bring it back home. Okay, because of physical punya item. If let's say online, it leave track. You need to say when you transfer online, system based, the system will do the recording. But if you simply curi, you masuk warehouse, you ambil satu. Nobody are looking at it. So you cannot trace unless you are the CCTV, you have security guard. That one different story. You have this control lah. Kalau tak ada control, then it will be easy for them to steal. Especially cash, the petty cash box, money, all those cash money, material money. Then it will be easily to be stolen lah by people who wanted to do fraud. Okay, segregation of duty. Who knows about segregation of duty? Apa itu segregation of duty? What the thing you want to segregate?
Segregation of duties is when no one person should handle a transaction from start to finish.
Okay, yes, that's correct. And to say from one process to another process, it must be handled by a different person. Okay, you cannot have like the same person doing every single thing. Okay, that is not allowed. Okay, something that actually not allowed in the organization. You are not allowed to have employee to do every single thing. Authorization, the same person. Record, the same person. Maintain custody or handling the asset, same person. Okay, these three areas of activities must be done by different personnel. Always remember that. Okay, to make sure that in the organization, when later in reality, when you start working later on, you will see this kind of situation happen in the organization. Okay, sometimes company doesn't bother about this one. They mislook or overlook, or maybe they don't take concern on this kind of segregation duties. So if let's say the person can authorize transaction, that person cannot do recording. Okay, record into the system. If you are being assigned to record into the system, okay, you are not allowed to authorize the transaction. It must be someone else. Okay, so normally the authorization must be the superior, the manager, or the one actually higher than you. Okay, you record today and then you send to the manager, then the manager will approve or will be authorized. You cannot have the same person do the recording and you click approve. Cannot. Right? Or else fraud could occur because you record 1,000 and then you receive 10,000, then you approve only for 1,000. So we don't want that happen. Okay, so that is very, very dangerous. Same also for those that actually handling assets. Those that handle asset movement, let's say asset stock or asset comes in or stock comes in and so on and so forth, are not allowed to do the recording or authorize transaction. If you are in charge of handling, just handling or maintaining, bring the asset out and then so on and so forth. But record into the transaction of sales activity, part of inventory balances and so on and so forth, it must be done by someone else. Okay, and it must be approved by someone else. So these three functions must be assigned to different personnel. You cannot have the same person. Okay, authorization, recording, and also maintenance or asset activities. Okay, so these three are basically needs to be done by different personnel. Okay, so these are the example of control procedures for sales activities. For sales activities. So sales recorded only with approved customer. So approval, we have approval there. Okay, and shipping document, sales have been recorded. Accounting for numerical sequences for sales invoices. So each time you issue out sales invoices, they are the numerical number. Each of the documentation have their own specific unique number. Okay, 001, invoice 001, invoice 002, invoice 003, and so on and so forth. Easy for you to trace if, let's say, the invoices are missing. Okay, so that one in terms of control, how you control sales invoices activity. And then every month you have monthly customer statement. Okay, this is how you monitor your customer. Okay, how many customer that still have balances owing us the money itself? Okay, complaints, example. So if you have complaints, so how you manage these particular complaints? So if let's say you already send the goods to customer, and then you need to do matching sales invoice and also shipping document. Okay, sales invoice showing 100 units sent to customer. When you look at the shipping document, yes, shipping document also stated that 100 units have been delivered to customer. This is how you control the movement of the assets. Okay, so these are some of the example of sales activities. You have price list, uh, daily billing goods, ship, how much, how many, and then invoices agreed with the shipping document and quantity, type, and so on and so forth. Okay, segregation of duty just now I mentioned recording must be separated, okay, with assets, those actually in charge of assets, those actually have the power of authorizing transaction must be separated with those actually in charge of recording and also handling assets. Okay, separate those actually have the authorization of authorizing transaction with those actually involved with recording. Okay, so these three needs to be separated. Okay, when it comes to segregation of duty. Okay, last one, the components of monitoring. Okay, so when we have all the four components just now, it is useless if let's say the company does not monitor the controls. That's why we need to have monitoring. Kalau ada empat control tadi, tapi nobody is going to monitor this control, useless. Okay, by the end of the day, you need to have someone that monitor this particular internal controls. Okay, monitoring can be in different, many types of monitoring. You put CCTV also is considered as monitoring. Okay, you put people on one place to observe is part of monitoring. Okay, you put a manager to monitor the staff, it's part of monitoring. Okay, so at least there is a operation or there is a control that you can oversee or you can manage all your control to make sure it is effectively and efficiently running in your organization. Okay, so operation monitoring is something is involved, is a process that involved with how to make sure that your internal control is at a good position. Okay, you have already implemented everything, but you do not monitor. Then it's such a waste of money. Okay, all this involve cost. When you want to implement controls, it involves cost. But if you do not monitor these particular controls properly, then it's a waste. Okay, it will be losses for you. Okay, then you need to create new control, new cost involved, and so on. Okay, so next activity. All right, so is there any effect of internal control on entity size? Okay, maybe you can answer based on this QR code. And later I will check the result. Yes or no only. Yes or no or not sure. Let's look at the result. Okay, so the result shown that, okay, many of you answer yes, not sure, no. So not sure is actually much more than no lah actually. So yes. Yes, okay. So is there any effect on internal control or entity size? Maksudnya organization size. Either small size, medium size company or large companies. So does internal control affect? Yes. The answer is yes. Okay. Not all internal controls are basically being implemented by organization. So you need to understand that. Yeah. Okay, so not all of these internal control are being applied to each level of organization. So small size company normally will apply lesser control. But for large company, they have all the costs, they have the money, they have the cost, they have the resources so that they can implement all components of internal control. Okay, let's say we mentioned about 5 components just now. For large entities, those especially in the public listed company, stock exchange market company, and so on, they don't have problem of implementing all 5 components. Okay, so large company tak ada masalah, no issue. Large corporation, multinational company, and so on and so forth, they have the resources to implement internal control system. But for medium and small entities, small and medium-sized company, normally they will only apply certain parts only of the controls because they don't have sufficient money, they don't have the resources to implement all controls. But they can implement the major or the most important controls that relevant to their business. Contohnya, alright, contohnya, let's say they implement in control procedures. Let's say small grocery shop, example. So grocery shop, you need to have staff that monitors asset movement, stock come in into the warehouse, masuk dekat their shops, and then keep and monitor. Who's going to monitor? Normally, the monitoring part will be the manager or owner of the business. Because they are very small size, medium size, small size company, normally they have less people working with them. So contohnya mungkin dalam 5 people or maybe 3 people only. The owner of the business and then another 2 is a employee. Okay, so the owner of the business will monitor every single thing. The employees and also the works being done, activities in the shop. Okay, because of lack of people, normally the manager or the owner of the business will oversee everything. Okay, there is medium-sized company. And then if you notice, if let's say you go to small grocery shop, they have CCTV. All right, that is part of monitoring. Okay, they put CCTV on the cashier so that the cashier, we can see who's taking the money from the cashier machine. So that is one of the ways, but they do not implement all. Contohnya, let's say in terms of control environment. Okay, normally they don't have lah. They don't have HR department. Okay, because a very small grocery shop, yang kedai yang menjual, let's say apa tu bahan-bahan apa tu makanan, jual minuman, drinks, beverage, jual apa tu stationeries. Okay, normally this type of company, this type of business, they don't have HR department. What for? Kan? Staff pun employees only 2 or 3 people only, so they don't need to have huge HR department. Okay, for large company, yes, they have HR department. But for medium, small size, they don't have it. So normally the manager have the controlling power. The owner of the business normally have the controlling power. Who are the person that they want to hire? Okay, and everything at the owner's punya decision. Okay, so normally they don't have enough manpower lah. Okay, they don't have many employees to work with them lah, because small and also medium-sized company. So what they can do is normally they can implement monitoring control. They can implement control procedures. Okay, these two, right? Control procedures and also monitoring. Alright, so the rest of the components is not applicable for them. Contohnya risk assessment, no need. Okay, they don't need to list down how many internal risk, external risk, no need, because it's not relevant that much to them. Okay, because they are very small business. So whatever risk that associated business, normally a very minimal risk. So they don't have like very huge risk now. Okay, unless you are basically your business tu near to an area that involve or ada banjir, selalu banjir, ataupun ada apa tu tanah runtuh, example. So that one is risk that the business need to take up lah. But if let's say normal shop lots, normally they don't have like very risky issues lah. All right. So yes, to answer the question whether the internal control affect entity size, yes. All right. But on the certain things only lah. Small and medium size, only certain components are applicable to them. For large entities, normally all of the 5 components are relevant to them. Okay, they should have lah. Okay. Okay. So, however, when it comes to internal control, even though it is good, internal control is good, need to have it. Okay. People say internal control is very good. It can help you prevent this, detect this, and so on and so forth. It also has its own limitation or weaknesses. Okay, weaknesses ni masuk kelemahan internal control ni adalah if let's say it involve human error, kesalahan manusia. Okay, this is something that the internal control cannot avoid. Okay, if you hire someone and then that person actually work for, let's say, from morning until evening, lepas tu dia tired, and then they key in into the system tu salah. He or she supposed to key in, let's say the figure is 1325. Okay, key in 1235. Got error kat situ kan? The difference. So that one is human error. Because we naturally, as a human, we always make error. Okay, we always make mistake. Kan? Careless, distracted, all right? Your judgment is not clear. So it creates error. Okay, so the internal control cannot avoid human error. Okay, this kesalahan manusia is normal in the organization. But however, if you always make error every single time too, this is something that you need to monitor. Okay, sekali cukup, 2 kali tak boleh. Okay, once okay, you make error 1 or 2 time, okay, acceptable. But every single time you make error, itu bukan human error dah. That one is actually you purposely doing it. Purposely doing it is not allowed. Okay, itu tak boleh. Kalau we as a boss pun, manager pun, kita akan marah, isn't it? You actually buat salah aja every day, so I buang. I fired you, I find another much more competent. Kan? Because we have more work to do. Takkan kita nak monitor this person every day. Hari-hari ada salah, hari-hari ada salah. Every day got error. Okay, cannot lah. Alright, it must be something can be improved throughout the time. You dah buat make mistake, do not repeat it. Okay, do not repeat the same mistake. Alright, so that is how you overcome error lah. That's how you monitor. Later nanti, when you going to for your internship, ada internship tak practical?
Ada.
Semester depan.
In
Semester
the next
depan ya.
semester.
Sedepan. Okay, so now nanti you guys will face this kind of issue. When you do audit, when you do account, it's normal because you guys are interns. You're doing your first time intern, you will do mistake. But throughout the few months working in that business, you know how to overcome your mistake. Kan? Nanti dia kena marah dengan supervisor, kena marah dengan boss, manager, and then you know how to improve. Kan? You don't want to make the same mistake again. Nanti kena marah, nanti nangis kan. Some student always cry. Dekat internship dia nangis. Kena marah, hari-hari marah. Balik marah. Pergi marah. Always kena marah je all the time. So we don't want to get involved in that situation. So try to improve yourself. Okay? Okay, the next one is actually if it is involved collusion. What is collusion? Anyone know? Collusion tu apa? You want to? Any idea? You want to your name? Ke Mazal? Hmm.
What is coming from?
Sorry, tak apa, not clear.
Oh, not clear.
Oh, tak apa clear, line tak apa clear. Anyone else? Javier, nampak Javier di sini. Any idea, Javier? What is collusion is all about? This one is a part of monitoring. I want to see whether you pay attention or not. Javier, you are there? I saw you.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yes. Do
I
you know
forgot
anything about?
to nyala mic.
Do you have any idea what is collusion is all about?
Collusion.
Hmm.
Seperti yang tertulis ya, collaboration between employee to commit fraud gitu.
Contohnya di mana? Bagi contoh.
Bagi contoh, eh,
Hmm.
itu kayak contoh antara karyawan dan manajemen itu dia saling punya
Membantu.
membantu visi misi yang sama. Jadi
Iya
mereka saling
betul.
punya inovasi antara
Hmm.
pengawasan internal di perusahaan, bagaimana cara memperketat, bagaimana cara mengecek apakah ini tuh sudah baik atau belum.
Okey, itu dari aspek contohnya collaboration yang baik ya. Contohnya daripada management dan employee-nya untuk mengecek semua keseluruhan kontrol itu dari positive way. Kalau dari segi fraud, okey, internal control tidak mampu untuk detect ataupun to avoid sekiranya ada kolaborasi di antara top management dan juga employee di dalam sebuah organisasi untuk melakukan penipuan ataupun fraud. Ini adalah sesuatu yang internal control tidak boleh um, detect ataupun sukar untuk avoid. Okay, kerana apabila sesuatu control telah dilakukan ataupun implemented in organization, it being implemented by the management. You need to understand, that's why I asked you just now. Internal control dibentuk ataupun didesign oleh management. Tetapi control tersebut juga boleh diatasi oleh management juga. Kerana control telah dilakukan, telah dibuat oleh management. Dan sekiranya mereka enggak mahu menggunakan control tersebut, dia tak mahu. Okay, mereka berkuasa. Mereka mempunyai kuasa untuk tidak menggunakan control tersebut ataupun untuk melangkaui ataupun membatasi kontrol-kontrol yang ada. Itu adalah collusion. Okay, so sekiranya control telah ada dipraktikkan, namun employee atau pekerja ataupun majikan ataupun employer tidak mahu menggunakan kontrol tersebut, dan internal control tidak boleh buat apa-apa. Okay, fraud akan berlaku sekiranya employee membuat keputusan mereka sendiri without considering the control itself. Okay, that is collusion. So kolaborasi ini adalah sangat sangat efektif kerana kalau sekiranya CFO berkolaborasi dengan accountantnya, makanya di sini sangat kuat strong tu, di mana CFO mempunyai uh, kuasa yang sangat besar di organisasi. Dia mampu untuk memberi approval, authorization, access into sistem dan sebagainya di keseluruhan management. Dan apabila berkolaborasi dengan employer yang lebih rendah ataupun accountant yang di bawahnya untuk melakukan fraud, so mereka boleh access. Okay, so accountant ni akan membuat begini dan CFO akan approve. Okay, akan memberi authorization. Okay, terima saja. Okay, make decision. Okay, so kolaborasi ini adalah sesuatu yang selalu dilakukan di organisasi untuk menutup fraud yang berlaku di organisasi. Dan sekiranya fraud dilakukan dalam kolaborasi, dia membutuhkan waktu yang sangat panjang. Selalunya 3 ataupun tahun untuk detect error or to detect this particular fraud. Sekiranya fraud dilakukan oleh seorang personal saja atau single employee only, so we can easily trace who is the fraudster. Okay, tetapi sekiranya berlaku collaboration between employees, it will be difficult to detect. Okay, it takes years to detect. And then who is really responsible? Also a big question. And who is the mastermind? It's a big question. Kalau fraud dilakukan oleh single person, one employee only, it will be easy for you to detect. Okay, you detect from the system, you trace the system, you trace the transaction and so on. Okay, this person A yang buat. Tetapi sekiranya melibatkan person A, person B, person C, D dan seterusnya dan berbeza department, jabatan. Jabatan melibatkan marketing, accounting, IT, and then melibatkan HR. So makanya lebih sukar untuk kita detect this particular fraud happen. Okay, who is the mastermind? We do not know until you have the detailed investigation. Okay, so there is collusion. Another one is actually management override. This one is also from collusion. Using management able to override internal control, misuse of power. So CFO misuse of power. Dia menggunakan kuasa beliau, CFO, untuk tidak menggunakan kontrol-kontrol yang ada di dalam company, di dalam perusahaan ataupun di organisation untuk kepentingan dia sendiri. Okay, this is management override. So kalau proses perlukan approval, so bagi dia tidak memerlukan approval. Straight away CFO akan sign. Okay, straight away CEO akan sign. So this is management override lah. So the system that developed should have control in place. But when it comes to higher power authority, normally they will not use the control. They akan move the control and then they make their own decision. This is management override. Okay, so how to document? I think this was the end already. Okay, how to document this particular internal control? When you want to understand further about internal control, there are 4 ways for you to understand internal control in the organization. 1, through narrative. 2, flowchart. 3rd one, ICQ, internal control questionnaire. And the 4th one, from their manual. Okay. So narrative here mean to say you need to understand their internal control based on their memorandum or documented memorandum that have a simple internal control. No, narrative itu selalu narrative. Narrative means to say essay. Company will explain internal control, this one is for what? Internal control for this one is for what? Normally you can see this narrative internal control in the company's financial report. Okay, if you go through the company's financial report, they can mention internal control, statement of internal control. So under this internal control, what is environment, what is risk assessment, what is procedures, and so on. That one is narrative. When it comes to flowchart meaning to say is a diagrammatic representation of pictures from one process to another process. So process of sales from ordering until you deliver the goods. This is flowcharts. Okay, who approve, who will actually transfer the goods, who going to ship, what kind of documentation involved from this process to the end of the process. That one is flowchart. That's how you understand the controls in between of the process flow. Process flow from beginning until end. That one is flowchart. The 3rd one is ICQ. This one is a questionnaire that being prepared by the auditor itself that will be answered by the management. Okay, so auditor will prepare a list of questionnaires. Okay, katakanlah 10 question for internal control environment, 10 question for risk assessment, 10 question for control procedures, 10 question for monitoring and also information communication. So the management need to answer those particular questionnaire. Okay, do you have authorization and also approval? Okay, if yes, tick. And then they need to give evidence. Okay, we have this one. Do you have organizational chart? Okay, yes. Then they need to tick. Got. Okay, so this type of document is very easy for you because they will answer the questionnaires and then you will know that, okay, they have this control, this control, this control, this control. Those control that they don't have, that control you need to emphasize for you to do audit. So from the ICQ, will be easy for the auditors. Let's say they don't have authorization approval. It's one of the findings, audit findings. So you can go deeper to see why they don't have this authorization approval. So how the documentation are being approved, how the transaction are being authorized. So this is one of the audit risks. Okay, you can go further and then check, identify evidence, how to improve future lah. Okay, that one is ICQ. Last one will be the manual. So this one, manuals, they have their own manual, organization chart, procedure manuals. All these are basically documentation. It's almost similar like narrative, but manuals will be much more specific. Okay, much documentation that will be much more specific. So these are the controls that enable you to understand further what is internal control is all about. Okay, so from narrative, flowchart, ICQ, and also procedure manuals. Okay, so let's say you audit this particular company, suddenly you identify there's weaknesses in the controls. Okay, when you audit company A, you identify that, oh, there's a weaknesses of internal control. They don't have control environment. They don't have control procedures on this one, and so on and so on. They don't have monitoring, and so on and so forth. So what you should do, okay, here under ISA, International Standard of Auditing 265, you need to inform those with charged with governance about these weaknesses of internal control in the management letter format. So now we go through management letter lah. So management letter, we need to say, auditor will prepare this letter to the management to inform that, okay, this one you don't have, this one you don't have. This control you don't have, this control you don't have. Okay, what will be the implication of this control if you don't have? Okay, so this is something that auditor need to highlight to the management. Okay, auditor, juru audit memerlukan this particular management letter to be sent, dihantar kepada management to identify where are the kelemahan-kelemahan control yang tiada di dalam management mereka. Okay, deficiency, weaknesses of internal control. So we as an auditor, even though we are not basically involved directly with the internal control, but we can advise the management, these are the things should be in place. Okay, so that in future, when you want to audit again this particular company, it will be easier for you because control is already in place. Okay, easy for you to do your own work. Okay, at the moment, maybe you have problem. But in future, when you audit this particular client again, yeah, you know that they already implemented the control. That will be easier for you to do audit. Okay, so normally the example of this significant, okay, example of this weaknesses will be leading to material misstatement. Okay, any kind of weaknesses of internal control will affect the preparation of financial statement in terms of the complexity, how you measure, how you estimate your accounting, in terms of the amounts, okay, in terms of the volume activity, transaction, account balances, all will be affected when it comes to preparation of financial statement. So you need to mention to the management, without this control, it will affect your financial statement preparation in what way? Okay, so that the manager will basically alert. Oh, okay, this will going to affect my financial statement. I will be basically scared. So I need to implement this internal control. Okay, or else I will get poor report, audit report later. Okay, adverse report ke, or disclaimer report ke, all right, qualified opinion. So we don't want that. Management don't want that. Okay, so they will do their level best to make sure that controls are there and then it will not affect the preparation of financial statement. Okay, so normally in the management letter, what we include, we have a description. Okay, description of the weaknesses, explain how this control will create as part of weaknesses. And then to make sure that sufficient information be attached to make sure that the management understand, okay, this is the implication of those particular weaknesses on the financial statement. Okay, then auditor will not be able to express opinion if, let's say, financial statement are being prepared not according or compliance with the accounting standards. Okay, or may have issues in terms of reliability issues. Okay, so include internal control relevant to preparation of financial statement, as I mentioned just now, And then matters being reported are limited to those deficiencies that already have been identified. So you need to state also disclaimer. These are only weaknesses that we identified. The rest of it is not our duty. Okay, as I mentioned just now, internal control system is basically responsibility of management to prepare. So any weaknesses, they need to identify actually. We only advise this implication of weaknesses of the control that can lead to effect on the preparation of financial statement. But how to improve, how to mitigate the internal control weaknesses is their duty, it's not our duty. Okay, if we do this, if we help them to improve internal control, meaning to say we also of management already. Okay, we are not independent anymore. Right? So when it comes to internal control, leave it to the management to decide control apa nak pakai, nak buat macam mana, how to overcome, leave it to them to settle the issue. Auditor are not allowed to involve with this internal control. Always remember that. Okay, because you're going to audit them later. If you audit them, you help them with internal control. So no point. All right. Internal control are being self-review. Okay, it's an issue of self-review. You're reviewing their internal control. At the same time, you also propose what a control should have in place. Later, when you audit your own work. All right, self-review. We don't want that. Okay, so leave to the management to decide whatever they want to do. You just highlight the weaknesses only. Okay, how we going to affect the preparation of financial statement. Okay, so last slide. Let's recap. Revision. So how many components basically are there in the COSO?
5. 7.
5. Okay, so the foundation will be which control?
Company environment.
Okay, control environment. All right. Next one. How many methods to document internal control? Zara.
Full.
Tapi kita kena ada suara-suara. Oh, Zara dah hilang. Zara. How many methods?
4.
4. Okay, good. What are the methods? The next one. Fikri. Fikri? Tak sempat salin ya? What are the 4 methods to document internal control system?
Narrative, flowchart, ICQ, and procedures manual.
Okay, good. All right. So which limitation allows leaders to bypass rules? Which limitation just now? We have 3 limitations just now. Which one actually leaders or employers can bypass? Bypass means to say overcome rules ataupun avoid rules. Which one? Management? What is the term just now? Management?
Management override.
Management override. Yes. Okay. All right. So I think that's all. Is there any question that you want to ask me, Kapaka? Is there any? Because this one will be the last slide already.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Is it clear, sir?
Yes, clear.
Yeah,
Jawabanku.
okay. I would like to ask, sir, as an audit, when we audit a company, right, we need to understand their internal control, right? So, my question is, how, bagaimana langkah-langkah kita sebagai auditor to understand about the company internal control?
Langkah-langkah tadi. Yang pertama sekali, when you start auditing any organization, you need to understand the entity. Okay, that's the first rule. Understand the entity tu meaning to say you need to understand the nature, company tu, organisasi tu buat apa. Contoh apa nature of work. Dia involved in manufacturing ke, involved in construction ke, ataupun dia involved in pharmaceutical ke, any kind of nature of business. So from there, after that, then you tengok in term of dia punya, melihat dia punya internal control. Tadi tu lah. Remember the document of internal control tadi tu? This one? Kan? So from here, you narrow down into specific areas that you want to zoom in. Sometimes company dia in term of record keeping, in term of this internal controls are not always updated. Okay, but however they should have it lah, the documents such as flowchart. Flowchart you should have. Procedures manual and also op chart should have. Okay, these two normally is available. When you start auditing the company too, you ask them, can you give me your company's punya flowchart for all the processes that involve, let's say, sales, purchases, assets, liabilities, in terms of inventory, all right, in terms of what else? Cash, okay, management and so on. So all this have their own flowchart. So you request from them, and then after that you go through. Okay, flowchart for sales. Okay, they have this process A, B, C, D until N. Okay, from order until delivered to customer. Right, this is sales process. So you check lah. So you take sample from companies punya sales activity, that they document, let's say a file of sales kan, and then you check document tu ada available or not. Okay, or order got documents, and then after that, yeah, the invoices. Okay, check, and then after that you have apa tu shipping document, okay, and then after that you have delivery documents, check, and then customer receive. Alright, so this is how you double check to understand the controls are there or not. Kalau tak ada, if not available there, mean to say the process of the flowchart is incomplete or not comply with the control system. Okay, itulah satu yang one example. So the rest also the same lah. Chases, acquire asset, to sell asset, remove assets, in terms of cash, all right, petty cash, how is the flowcharts actually involved in petty cash. So all this must have, any kind of transaction should have their own specific flowcharts or manual. Okay, so that's how you understand their internal control. Okay, Chuanto?
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. Is there any other questions? Ada lagi? Kita tamat. No more? Berapa ramai di sini?
Iya,
Ya,
I
dia
would
tanya.
like to answer, sir.
Yes.
I would like to ask something.
Sure, your name? Okay, Javier.
Javier. I would like to ask. I currently have a small to medium-sized business in
Hmm.
Jakarta.
Hmm.
Menurut pendapat Bapak, what kind of control measure can my partner and I take to tighten supervision? I'm asking this because there was a case of fraud in my company, and we would
Okay,
like
what
to
sort of company you have? You're running?
macam usaha dagang
Dagang. Okay, all right. How many staff you have?
3.
3. Okay, so currently, how you monitor?
eh Semacam laporan keuangan dan keuangan perusahaan.
Oh. Hmm. Okay, sekejap. I want to understand the nature of business tu. Maksudnya, business tersebut buat pelaporan keuangan ya?
Hmm. Ya.
Okay. So gimana, ada isu fraud di situ?
eh Jadi semacam ada kecurangan di mana ada kayak pembelian fiktif. Ada
Oh, fictitious account. Okay, so ini dilakukan oleh klien ya,
Employee.
employee. Oh, employee yang melakukannya.
Hmm.
Hmm, okay, alright. Selalunya yang harus dilakukan adalah kita perlu dapatkan bukti yang transaksi yang berlaku tersebut adakah melibatkan employee tersebut. Contohnya, adakah isunya tersebut linked directly to the employee or not. So, melihatkan di situ, contohnya ada fictitious kan? Fictitious account eh? Okay, so gimana employee tersebut create this fictitious account? Kalau bagaimana Javier tahu uh, mengenai employee create fictitious account? Dari mana?
Eh, Barangnya itu tidak ada, Sir.
Oh,
Hmm. Jadi langsung realize oh as a fictive,
barang sudah dibeli tapi barangnya nggak ada.
tidak ada. Uh, and we would like to implement like segregation of datis, but honestly we have very few employees.
Oh
Like
yes, yeah, that's the issue.
yeah, jadi forced to assign more than one job for a single person gitu.
Okay. Aktivitas ni tersebut dilakukan di kantor ya, di satu office ya, satu tempat atau di rumah ke di mana?
Dan di satu office
Office. Okay, di office tersebut ada CCTV.
tidak ada. Ini hanya like
Okay.
for medium
Okay,
business,
itu
so
salah satu
we have
monitoring yang mungkin Habib boleh lakukan dengan memasang CCTV, terutama di kawasan yang melibatkan movement of goods tu. Sekiranya kan employee tersebut tu in charge of goods yang perlu di-deliver. Okay, bila dia bungkus ada antara pembungkusan dan kemudian mau deliver. So at least CCTV tu boleh melihat di mana dia meletakkan barang dagangan tersebut. Di dalam kotak ke ataupun sudah di post ke ataupun delivery man tu sudah datang untuk mengambil, collect and then hantar contohnya. So CCTV harus ada di situ untuk mengawasi pergerakan employee tersebut dalam menghantar goods delivery. Itu adalah salah satu yang boleh dilakukan untuk memastikan barang dagangan tidak hilang ataupun dicuri. Okay. Kedua, dari segi transaksinya adalah sewaktu goods tersebut diberi kepada Gojek apa yang dipanggil yang untuk collect barang dagangan tu?
uh,
Uh,
kurir.
Good. Okay, macam sebelum diberi, dia harus sign. Maknanya sudah menerima dokumen tersebut dan dicop. Sign saja nggak cukup. Sekarang jikalau sign nanti employee-nya boleh sign on behalf of Google tersebut. Tapi harus ada company chop. Maksudnya dicop oleh person yang mengambil barang dagangan tersebut dan this documentation harus disimpan. So nanti apabila Avian mau audit harus ada dokumen tersebut. Di mana barang dagangan tersebut telah keluar dan diberi kepada delivery man untuk deliver kepada customer. Dan dokumen tersebut adalah satu dokumen membuktikan goods tersebut, barang dagangan tersebut telah keluar daripada office. Okay, dua lah cukup. Saya rasa itu sudah memadai. So, CCTV satu, kedua, satu dokumentasi yang melibatkan transaksi barang dagangan telah keluar daripada office dan telah dideliver kepada customer. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, alright. Ada lain? Rata-rata di dalam ni mau menjadi auditor ataupun accountant ya? Ataupun bisnes sendiri?
Auditor, sir.
Auditor. Bagus. Lagi? Sakina?
Izin bertanya, Bapak.
Ya, tanya.
Untuk apakah auditor ini dalam mengaudit menggunakan pendekatan yang berbeda ketika menilai internal kontrol pada perusahaan swasta atau sektor publik atau entitas pemerintah, Pak? Sekian.
Okey. Baik, untuk sektor swasta mungkin akan ada sedikit perbezaan di antara satu audit firm dengan another audit firm. Di sektor public selalunya adalah konsisten, di mana-mana pun akan konsisten kecuali swasta saja. Alright, so public akan sama, kurang perbedaannya selalunya adalah sama, tetapi kalau di swasta in term of auditing menggunakan internal control adalah berbeza daripada satu audit firm to another audit firm yang lain. Namun macam seperti yang saya katakan tadi, basic understanding tu harus ada. Internal control dan methods of using documentation ni adalah sesuatu yang audit firm yang selalunya menggunakan pakai. Sama ada memahami internal control melalui flowchart, ICQ. Tetapi kalau di swasta, mereka lebih menggunakan ICQ. Mereka akan develop their own internal control questionnaire. Okay, untuk memudahkan proses, kerana ICQ adalah lebih independent berbanding dengan flowchart dan juga prosedur manual. Flowchart dan prosedur manual adalah dokumentasi yang telah di-prepare ataupun telah dibuat oleh management. Ya, kita mungkin tidak tahu flowchartnya telah diubah ataupun manualnya telah diubah ataupun bukannya asli, yang original. Okey, keaslian dokumentasi tersebut diragui, mungkin boleh diragui. Okey, oleh itu selalunya internal auditor akan menggunakan develop their own internal control questionnaire. Come up with their own internal questionnaire dan management akan menjawab questionnaire tersebut. Itu adalah lebih independent ataupun lebih reliable berbanding menggunakan flowchart dan juga manual. Okey, so selalunya begitulah. Selalunya swasta akan mempunyai sistem untuk mengecek internal control dengan cara mereka sendiri. Okay, melalui one of them is jadi internal control questionnaire. Develop their own internal control questionnaire ataupun sistem yang lebih kurang sama macam ICQ, mungkin menggunakan sistem automated dan sebagainya dan diberikan kepada management untuk menjawab dan terus menganalisa kontrol-kontrol yang ada di dalam company tersebut. Itu adalah lebih reliable berbanding kebergantungan terhadap naratif flowchart dan juga prosedur manual. Tetapi sekiranya auditor mahu memahaminya sendiri lebih lanjut, mereka boleh mengambilkan flowchart dan juga prosedur manual dan dia akan create a new flowchart untuk memudahkan mereka memahami apa yang ada dalam flowchart tersebut. So source of data tu ada di dalam flowchart dan manual yang diberikan oleh management, tetapi auditor boleh create another one more dokumentasi yang melibatkan flowchart dan juga manual dengan pemahaman mereka sendiri. Tapi itu banyak kerja lah, itu maksudnya kerja yang lebih banyak. Kalau untuk lebih mudah, selalunya mereka menggunakan ICQ saja. Okey, Amila ya, Amila. Okey, ada soalan lain?
Izin bertanya,
Namanya?
Pak.
Ya, boleh.
Jadi kan tadi ada dibahas tentang batasan dalam pengendalian internal, yaitu salah satu adalah kolusi yang ada karyawan itu ada karyawan dalam perusahaan itu yang dia bekerja sama untuk melakukan fraud. Kan tadi Bapak juga bilang kalau kita sebagai auditor nggak bisa mendeteksi di perusahaan itu apakah ada karyawan yang melakukan kolusi atau tidak. Pengetahuan saya kan cara untuk mendeteksi kolusi itu bagi pihak manajemen biasanya melakukan job rotation dan dilakukan itu secara tiba-tiba. Sebelum melakukan audit, kan biasanya auditor itu membuat sebuah kuesioner untuk mengetahui bagaimana internal kontrol di perusahaan itu, Pak. Lalu untuk mendeteksi kolusi itu, apakah boleh auditor itu melampirkan pertanyaan tentang apakah ada manajemen itu melakukan job rotation di perusahaan itu untuk supaya kita tahu apakah ada kolusi atau tidak atau ada cara lain.
Oh, okey. Ini adalah mengenai cara untuk mengetahui sama ada collusion itu berlaku, ya? Okey, baik.
Yap.
In term of job rotation, boleh. Bisa. Kalau sekiranya as an auditor, you wanted to ask sama ada job rotation happening or not in the organisation tu, boleh. Bisa. Kita boleh bertanyakan mengenai job rotation di dalam sesuatu organisasi. Itu adalah salah satu cara untuk mengetahui bahawa tidak semestinya employee tersebut akan duduk di satu posisi di dalam organisasi tersebut dalam tempoh yang agak lama. Okay, so mungkin 5-6 tahun, 10 tahun dia akan rotate, berubah, pergi ke function or unit yang lain ataupun proses-proses yang lain. Okey, itu salah satu untuk mengetahui sama ada kolaborasi mungkin akan berlaku. Tetapi itu adalah sangat minimal. Selalunya isu untuk mengesan collusion melibatkan fraud ni adalah di mana transaksi tersebut dilakukan di pelbagai unit ataupun department. Okey, contohnya yang melibatkan cross department daripada akuntansi, perakaunan kepada marketing ataupun HR, human resource ataupun yang melibatkan top management. Itu adalah collusion yang sangat ketara yang dilakukan sekiranya melibatkan pelbagai pihak di dalam sesebuah organisasi. Dan bagi untuk auditor mengesan secara keseluruhannya akan mengambil masa, membutuhkan waktu yang agak lama. Sekiranya berlaku setahun dan pada tahun tersebut auditor audit financial statement pada tahun tersebut, amat sukar untuk auditor untuk mengesan pada tahun tersebut. Ini membutuhkan waktu yang agak panjang untuk auditor mengesan audit fraud berlaku melibatkan collusion dalam tempoh 3 tahun ke atas. Okey, kerana salah satu kekangan atau limitasinya adalah auditor menggunakan sampel basis. Bila menggunakan sampel basis, bukan ke semua populasi data akan digunakan pakai untuk dianalisa. Okay, so based on sample, select sampel yang mau diaudit saja. So sampel yang selebihnya, populasi yang selebihnya tidak diaudit. So maka di situ kita auditnya terhad, ya. Terhad maksudnya bukan semua transaksi akan di-review ataupun dilihat ataupun dicek oleh auditor. So apa yang based on the sample itself tu, itu adalah resultnya. Baiklah. Kalau buruklah resultnya. Tapi kalau sekiranya semuanya baik, so amat sukar untuk auditor untuk mendetect atau mengesan sama ada fraud itu berlaku melibatkan collusion or not. Tapi kalau dalam tempoh yang agak lama, kalau sekiranya audit berlarutan dalam tempoh 2-3 tahun yang sama, sampel akan berubah. Bila sampel akan berubah, sudah ada potensi ataupun opportunity, peluang di mana fraud akan muncul, akan didetect atau dikesan oleh auditor. Di situ mereka akan trace, mereka akan check semula di mana punca this particular fraud happen from the beginning. Dia akan melihat pada tahun pertama di audit ni kemudian. Itu sebabnya apabila collusion berlaku, untuk detect fraud melibatkan collusion, ia membutuhkan waktu yang agak panjang. Tetapi kalau dilakukan individual, perseorangan sahaja, maknanya setahun atau 2 tahun kita bisa melihat dia punya trend. Okay, di mana silapnya. Okay, orang tersebut ataupun pekerja employee tersebut melakukan kesalahan melibatkan fraud. Tetapi kalau sekiranya collusion, ia memerlukan waktu yang sangat panjang. Dan apabila sudah dikesan, mereka auditor akan trace back from the beginning of the first year when they started the audit itself to identify where the issue comes from. Okay, Zara? Alright,
terima
so ya, ini perlukan waktu. Kalau sekiranya mahu melihat lebih pantas, kita harus panggil forensic accountant ataupun forensic auditor. Itu lebih cepat, lebih pantas untuk mengetahui sama ada fraud tersebut berlaku disebabkan pollution ataupun dan sebagainya. Kerana tugas forensic auditor atau forensic accountant, mereka akan melihat secara keseluruhan. Kalau sekiranya transaksi tersebut melibatkan 1,000 transaksi, 1,000 transaksi akan digunakan pakai untuk di-audit ataupun di-investigate ataupun disiasat. Kalau untuk external auditor, selalunya mereka menggunakan sample basis. Bukan semua populasi akan dilihat, tetapi kalau sekiranya forensic investigation, mereka akan melihat keseluruhannya. Okay, kalau populasinya adalah 1,000,000, so 1,000,000 akan direview oleh by forensic accountant. So di situ akan pantas untuk mengesan sama ada fraud happening or not. Okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you,
Alright.
sir.
Okay, so forensic accounting is another different field lah. Okay, forensic area, forensic accounting will be another area lah. Prof Afrizal mengajar forensic accounting ya? Tak, enggak. Oh, okay. Ada di offer?
Tak ada, sir, setahu saya.
Oh, tak ada. Okay, alright. Di sini kami ada subjek untuk forensic accounting. So makanya pendedahan tu ada untuk basic understanding about what is forensic accounting rule. So dia lebih mendalam daripada external auditor. Lebih detail kerana forensic accountant bisa membawa kasus yang melibatkan fraud ini di mahkamah. Okay, itu adalah role of forensic accountant. Okay, external auditor nggak bisa. Mereka hanya boleh memprepare tapi tidak boleh menjadi lawyer di mahkamah, peguam cara. Tetapi forensic accountant bisa menjadi peguam cara, peguam bela di mahkamah melibatkan isu-isu kasus melibatkan fraud, penipuan dan sebagainya. Okay, alright. Saya rasa itu saja untuk hari ini. Mungkin kita boleh ambil fotonya ya. Sekejap ya. Foto untuk memori. Sekejap ya. Mana memori kamera? View, okay. View. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Sekejap ya. Saya check whether okay. Sharing. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, one more, last one. Okay, 1. Mungkin boleh buat thumbs up ke? 1, 2, 3. Okay, alright. Terima kasih. Sepatutnya ada kuliah lagi ya? Masih ada kuliah hari ini?
ada.
Tidak
Ada.
ada.
Oh, tidak ada. Oh, okay. Alright, baik. Okey, saya rasa itu saja untuk hari ini. Sekiranya ada sebarang persoalan yang lebih lanjut mahu tanya, boleh email sama saya ataupun bertanya kepada Prof Afrizal. Nanti mungkin boleh minta email kepada Prof Afrizal untuk keterangan lanjut dan sebagainya. Okey, terima kasih semua kena hadir pada hari ini ya. Terima kasih banyak-banyak. Okey, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okey, terima kasih.